Hey guys, Chris here, and welcome to a new series and the first episode of How To. Today we're going to talk about cleanse, how to cleanse, when to cleanse, and maybe even when to not pick cleanse. So cleanse has been around for ages, and it is a very scary talent for a lot of people. It's a level 7 talent for supports, and currently all supports but Oriel, Tyrande and Tassadar have cleanse. If I forgot somebody, I'm sure you can correct me on that. So cleanse is on level 7 as I said, and from the ability text it reads activate to make target ally unstoppable for 1 second, cannot be cast on yourself. So you cannot cleanse yourself, which is very important because it means that you can't be out of position yourself, you can only save your allies. 1 second unstoppable, what does that mean? So basically unstoppable is a removal of anything that is roots, stuns, slows, or even movement towards your hero. Basically anything that would normally move you. That could be Mighty Gust, that could be Alarok's abilities, that could be something like Haymaker, for example. You would also be unstoppable for that, so you wouldn't move. So cleanse is something that can be very scary. A lot of people think that they can only use cleanse in those high-skilled, high-impact environments that the pro players are using it, where it's like pre-cleansing and all that stuff. We're going to look into some of these and explain when to cleanse and what cleanse will actually do in those situations. So for beginners first, cleanse just puts unstoppable on top of your head of the ally that you're cleansing. Cleanse itself, when you look at the word, would mean that you can only remove things that already happened, right? Because you cleanse something from your hero or from the ally. In this case though, cleanse actually gives a second of unstoppable, meaning that if you cleanse somebody and they get hit by a stun right as you cleanse them, that stun would be negated because they're unstoppable. On the other hand, if somebody gets stunned, as I said, they would be freed by cleanse. We're going to now look into several different situations where cleanse works very well, and I will explain in these what cleanse does in them and what does it mean for you and your support play. Okay, let's look at the first situation that you can use cleanse in. We're gonna watch this pro play here between Team Liquid and the E-Punks. By the way, thanks to Chris for sending in those replays. That helped me a lot to find actually good situations where you can show off cleanse, because my cleanses suck, so I didn't want to show or highlight these as it would not help you at all. Okay, let's look at the situation here. Gerd on Herd is playing Kerosene and has cleanse on level 7, and we're looking at Li Ming from Sport Billy, who's poking down the Immortal on the blue side towards the red side. So she's doing that to get some advantage on the damage towards the Immortal, but you can also see that they don't have a lot of vision on the enemies. She's quite far in front. Shad is pretty far back, and BKB on the minimap, you can see him here, is actually going towards bottom to soak some XP. So Sport Billy is a little bit out of position, or at least a little bit far front. Now they see Arthas. She's poking, and what happens here is that Rimmerballer and Nick suddenly appear out of the fog of war. Rimmerballer on his Muradin now wants to stun Li Ming to have her in a bad position so that Nick can follow up on her with some damage. There's the stun. And now Gerd has to use cleanse to help Li Ming out, because she will be stunned for a second, so she would get a lot of damage, and there's also potential of follow-up. Getting poisoned, meaning she would get slowed, and then also having the Arthas who could come in and root her. So what Gerd does is use cleanse right here. She's now unstoppable, meaning even if Muradin thunderclaps her, or even if Lunara would get wild spores off to slow her, in that fraction of time she's unstoppable and cannot be caught, which allows her to just blink away. So what you can do with cleanse is make an ally that has been stunned and has been out of position unstoppable, to make him a free entrance to walk away. Run away, save your ally. These are very small things that you can do in pretty much every game with cleanse. So if the enemy has a Muradin, an Arthas, something like a Kel'Thas, cleanse can be used to just do that. Have players help each other by, you know, negating a stun. Okay, we have now seen how to use cleanse reactively. Basically, when something happens to your hero or to an ally hero, you use cleanse to negate whatever has happened to it. The Li Ming got stunned, Gurt cleansed it. Now we're going to look into something that is called pre-cleansing. Pre-cleansing is basically using cleanse before something happens to negate whatever happens then. So for example, if you anticipate a stun coming out from Muradin, you can pre-cleanse your ally so you won't be stopped in their track, for example when they're chasing. In this situation now, Team Liquid has just lost a keep, but they want to chase after E-Punks because they have 13 versus 13 talents and E-Punks are going to get 16 very soon. So they want to fight here right now, right there. So they're going to chase him a little bit. And let's have a special look at Gurt, who's down here with his Kharazim, and Sphyxy, who's just jumping after Arthas. Greymane is a very good chaser, but he has some issues with the mobility when he gets slowed or stunned or whatever, because he doesn't have anything to self-cleanse him. So Gurt will jump after him, heal him, and Sphyxy will get the first kill. So let's stop it here. What happens now? They want to chase, they want to continue to chase. So what needs to happen to be successful with that? Greymane needs to be at his target whenever he can. So what can happen now is that Auriel could stun him, Lunara could slow him down. So what Gurt will be doing is right now use cleanse. So poison came out of Lunara, meaning he could be slowed now, or Auriel could be stunning him. So he's using cleanse pre anything that's happened to make sure that Greymane is unstoppable in this situation, enabling him to chase. So basically, this is something that you can do on a very high skill level already. To do this, I would definitely say that you know what you're doing and that you've played a lot with supports and cleanse, because these situations can be very uncomfortable, as I will show you in a second. So pre-cleansing basically means in this case, he's trying to stop Auriel and Lunara to stun Greymane out of his chase. And he did it, and for example Lunara can't slow him down now because he's unstoppable. Unfortunately, Gnappe does a very good job on timing his stun. Either it's just a very high skill level or he was lucky, you can decide that for yourself. But as you can see, Greymane is stunned. That being said, this is exactly what Gurt was anticipating. He knew that the stun would be coming towards Greymane, who was about to chase, so he put on cleanse before the stun would come out, enabling the Greymane to at least chase. Also, on this example, cleansing after the stun has happened wouldn't change anything, because it wouldn't enable Greymane to continue the chase, because he's knocked back and stunned. So in this situation, cleansing the effect off of the hero doesn't give the hero more chasing potential, because he basically can't do anything after he has been stunned, because he has lost some ground on the enemy hero. A second thing that I unfortunately didn't find a replay for, that you can do with pre-cleanse, is enable heroes in a way that Divine Shield does it as well. For example, ETC Mosh Pit. ETC is somebody who is very feared in lots of levels of play. So the Mosh Pit is anticipated. So basically people wait for ETC to slide in, start the Mosh Pit, and then stun him out, right? So what you can do as a support is basically see that your ETC is sliding in, wait for maybe a second, see that the animation is starting of Mosh Pit, and then pre-cleanse him. That means ETC during his Mosh Pit start would be unstoppable for a second. So nobody can get him out of the mosh pit. This is very good against compositions that have a false set, for example, because a lot of false sets will need to position themselves, turn their body, and then gust. So if you give your ETC a little bit of a cleanse, maybe when the animation has come through and the mosh pit has started, it can stop enemies from stopping the mosh pit. So this is what pre-cleansing does. Again, this is a very high skill ceiling ability and situation. Pre-cleansing is something that you should only be doing if you're very comfortable with what you're doing, because cleanse has a minute of cooldown. So if you want to use it, make sure that it has some effect, right? Something else that cleanse can do is negate very powerful abilities, even heroic abilities. So in this case, we're going to look at a video that Nomi helped me to create. Thanks to him for that. As you can see on the levels, it took some time to get a good shot of what's happening. So we're going to look at Chromie and Temporal Loop in this case. So if you don't know what Temporal Loop does, it basically hits your hero, and then you get teleported back for 2 or 3 seconds in time, basically putting you in a position where Chromie can hit her combo and just one-shot you if you're an assassin or a support player. To negate that, you can use Cleanse to stop the hero from moving, using the unstoppable frame to negate the movement that Temporal Loop causes to the hero. So we're going to look at this right now. So this is where Temporal Loop is a little difficult and which makes Cleanse again a very high skill ceiling ability. So you can use Cleanse now, but it will not do anything. If you use it now, the hero will be unstoppable for a second, but there's only half of the Temporal Loop clock running down. So it will still move the hero. So for Temporal Loop, you want to be 3/4 down to the cooldown or the clock rotating up to use Cleanse. So from now on, you can basically use Cleanse. This would stop the hero from moving. That's already pretty close. And there you go. I timed it perfectly, totally on purpose, because I'm such a high skill player. Temporal Loop is negated. Azmodan wasn't moved, meaning that he wasn't hit by the combo. This is something that you can do to stop even those powerful abilities. So using Cleanse stopped Azmodan from being one-shot. Another ability that we can talk about when we were looking at Temporal Loop is also Mighty Gust, for example. Falsight is very pesky on those boss points where you just gust away your team and basically steals the boss, right? You can also cleanse that. If you use Cleanse right as Gust happens, the ally will be unstoppable and will not be moved, meaning they will stay on the boss point and Falsight cannot steal the boss away. So that's another ability that you can negate with Cleanse. So now we have seen what Cleanse can do, how you use it, and also in which situation you can use it against which abilities. Now comes the very, very, very tricky part. When do you actually use it? So Cleanse is, again, very big on impact, but it's also a very high risk, high reward skill. If you use it too early, it will not do anything. If you use it too late, your ally might be dead. If you use it and nothing happens, you also have a 60-second cooldown, meaning you can't really do anything with it anymore for a minute. So having Cleanse and playing with Cleanse is something that you will have to learn by playing it a lot. And we're going to go into that in a second. When to use Cleanse and how to learn when to use Cleanse is something that has to do a lot with decision making. So let's look at this game again between Team Liquid and ePunks. And this time we look at Shat on Tyrael and Gernamherd on his Kerosene. So now Tyrael was just stunned. He's also in a pretty bad situation. So a direct cleanse would be the right call. So you can cleanse him and then he's ready, right? He can just walk away. The issue is though that Crisplosion is also there who can root him after the Unstoppable has stopped. He just got poisoned by Lunara and he's still in the stun. So Gert is waiting for the stun to end to make a decision on if he uses cleanse or not. Why? It enables Tyrael to use his Q so that the cleanse will actually be more impactful. Because if he cleanses him now, Tyrael doesn't have used his Q. He might even be on cooldown. So stun runs off, Shat uses his shield, making sure that he will also negate some of the damage that he's now going to take. And now cleanse is used. You can see the sword from Tyrael flying out here already, meaning Gert knows that Tyrael will have another option to run away. And there you go. Shat can teleport away. He used Gert used Cleanse to help him out there. So decision making is something that you can learn a lot easier from high HP targets or targets that can heal themselves or sheath themselves like Tyrael a lot. And we're just gonna go and run the replay to run in the background while I'm talking about the last steps of the cleanse video. So learning cleanse is something that is very easy if you know how to play it, right? It's okay, I see the stun, I know these abilities, everything is what it should be. So cleanse is something that will come natural to you the more you play. Especially the more you play support and especially you play more against CCs. Does this mean you have to choose cleanse every time? No, definitely not. If you're playing on a skill level that is not very high, it can be actually very detrimental to play cleanse because you will never use it. So if you yourself feel very uncomfortable with using cleanse and you know that you're playing maybe like silver or gold, it's not necessary for you to pick cleanse and then just be frustrated with yourself because you didn't do anything. That being said, the earlier you learn to use cleanse, the better, because that will mean that you will learn and get better at using cleanse. Another thing that is important is that cleanse is a ability that is best used with somebody in voice, because you can say like, "Oh Greyman, I'm going to give you cleanse," and then he can jump in. When do you use cleanse, or when do you choose cleanse and when you not choose cleanse? So I personally only use cleanse if the enemy team has at least 2 CCs that are easy to hit. So Kel'Thas, Muradin, something like an Arthas. Maybe you can add Falsat for the Gust. But I also only use it if it's stuns that basically are announced. Kel'Thas is something that has to travel. Bolt of the Storm has a little throw animation and also has to travel. So they're not instant. Things like Uther's stun, for example, is instant. Once it's in range, you click on it and then it's instant. Also, if you know that you will not use cleanse very effectively, in some situations it's just better to not pick it. I did a Karazim Insight video a couple of weeks ago where you can see they didn't pick cleanse. The enemy team didn't have any CC that was really bothering me. I chose Insight because I wanted to have more heals, and with Echo of Heaven it made much more sense to go not to go for cleanse. Another thing would be you have Brightwing. She relies a lot on her level 7 talents, so if you don't necessarily need the cleanse, don't take it. One other thing is that in a double support setup, you are more likely to have enough heals, so you can give up a talent that would empower your heals, like Echo of Heaven, and take cleanse instead. So now we went through all of these different situations where you can use cleanse, and what cleanse can do, and which situation you could pick them, and so on. One important thing is, if somebody says you should always pick cleanse, they probably saw it in a pro game, or they just think it's always good. Depending on your skill level, it's not always good. For example, I don't hit most of my cleanses. Like I'm not very good at pre-cleansing. I actually forget that I have it, or I just use it in different situations where it's not useful. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't be training it. One of the things that I am doing for the next season is actually just playing support in unranked, and picking cleanse and seeing that I can improve on that skill level. But it doesn't mean that cleanse is always the must-go talent. As I said, there's Karazim, there's Brightwing, and there's some other situations where cleanse might not be useful, or might not even be needed. So don't get too scared of cleanse, but if you want to improve, obviously play it in unranked, play it in quick matches, and try to get better before you use it in Hero League. One last thing, if you are afraid of cleanse, just use it. There's nothing that can go wrong in a way that you can make a hero die or anything. If you use it too early, obviously it's bad, but if you use it more in a reactive way, cleansing stuns and everything, it will just make your life easier. You don't have to worry about it too much. That's it for me. I hope you found this video very useful for learning about cleanse and seeing what you can do with it. If you have any specific questions to situations, or maybe even replays where you want to know if picking cleanse would have been better, or if you should be picking cleanse here, let me know in the comments. I'm glad to look at it. Also, thanks again to Chris from Liquid, or from, well, X-Liquid, maybe Liquid, Streaming Liquid, who gave me the replays of the E-Punks and Liquid games. Thanks to Naomi for helping with the video, and also thanks to Gerdamherd and Bakery, who gave me a little bit of insight on the cleanse ability, and also if I am covering everything that is important to show you in this video. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope I will see you soon. Have a good one.